Welcome back, everybody, fellow coders, noobs, and anybody who's joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming in watching Web Tips Tutorials. This is our third tutorial on HTML5. We've touched some basics about CSS attributes, and we're really getting into the fun stuff now. I mean, once we get through this, I know probably at this point, all you guys out there that have been watching since the beginning are like, oh my God, we're just talking about text pretty much. I mean, HTML, that's what it is, guys. It's a bunch of text. It's what we see in our browser. We've pretty much learned that it's the basic structure to the text that is rendered in the browser. So we've been covering some basics in our last tutorial. For those of you who are just joining us once again, our last tutorial we talked a little bit about attributes. We played around with our CSS just a little bit so we can really understand what's going on with our nesting. We use some divs to, again, section off our document. And that really helps us a lot to have a certain level of control when we're designing our web layouts. And that's something that we really haven't talked too much about, is web design and workflow. And these aren't really things we're going to get into too much today, but I really wanted to take a second to talk to you guys about workflow with the web design. So workflow has to do with, where does all of this begin, right? I mean, we all see beautiful websites online, and we all want to be brilliant web developers and brilliant designers. Or maybe we just want to start up a business. Well, we really have to understand where it all starts. And typically, when you're going to design a website, it starts in what's called a mock-up form. And just to briefly cover what a mock-up is kind of like this document that I created for the HTML tutorials. A mock-up is just a series of boxes and text that really helps you to outline either or both, really, the direction of how you want to lead the potential clients or users of the website through the needed information in a clean, organized way that really allows them to because let's face it, I mean, most people, when you're going on a website, especially if you're looking for information, you're not reading everything. In a perfect world, I'm sure you probably would, but realistically, nobody reads every bit of information on a website. So as developers, we have to recognize that. As designers, really, we need to recognize that and implement strategies that allow our viewers to quickly skim through our website and find the information that they are looking for. And so I wanted to just kind of include that little tidbit for you guys to help you understand where it all starts. And so it starts here. It starts with, actually, let's go open up mine, because I'm actually still building my website. This is online too, so it might take a second to load up. Man, for those of you guys who are just joining us, I run a freelance web development company. I really honestly wouldn't even call it a company at this point. I'm just a freelance developer. And like you, I started exactly where you're at. So my skill as a developer has really grown and changed quite a bit. I used to really be a lot more into complex design and off-the-wall design. In fact, that's why I called it Novum Perspective. It literally means new perspective. So I've moved closer to the web layouts of like what you can see here, what I would call a Bootstrap style web layout. And so here you can see the mock-up of one of the pages on my website. And literally all this is it's a bunch of boxes with some text, and I can just kind of quickly pop it in here. And it gives me an idea of where the information's going to go, what it's going to say, where there might be some images, like all these gray areas. I plan to put images. And some of this, as I'm designing my website, I want to take you guys through part of that process too, because that's really something that I've found as a self-taught web designer and web developer. And I use that term loosely for all the tie days out there. But that really has been kind of the crutch of my experience, was finding all that information in one place. And so that's what I want to do for you guys. So if you look through here, you can just kind of see, how your website's going to be laid out, where there might be buttons. And yeah, I made all these buttons and squares, and that's really all they are. You can see me moving it around and stuff. It's just a box. And then some text. It's just text boxes. This is almost like a PDF editor. And if you guys want to use this one, I'll leave a link in the description for for which technologies I use. I still use this one, which is Gravit. And you can find it by going online and just typing in gravit.io. That's a graphic designer. It's free to use. And despite popular belief, it's still free to use, but they do charge an annual subscription fee, which I really disagree with. But, it is what it is. I got used to using it. I used to use Adobe, and I still use it, obviously, Photoshop, and I don't really like Illustrator too much, but Adobe Illustrator is one that you guys can check out. There's another free one online. It's a little buggy. It's called Vector, and I think it's vectr.io. I'll look it up and leave it in the description for you. But you can use these to mess around and make logos and all kinds of things. I mean, like here's another page where you can see like some icons and stuff, and they've got free icons you can use. So anyways, back to workflow, guys. This is really where it all starts. It starts at a mock-up, and then from the mock-up, we move into the actual hard code. So writing the code to lay out the text first, and then usually the styles, which obviously includes our CSS and SCSS. And then lastly, we add functionality with JavaScript. So that is really the workflow that I follow, and it changes over time, just like yours will. The fact is, and one of the biggest reasons why I love to write code, is that it's so versatile and it allows you so many options for how you want to put things together. You can work in any workflow that you want that feels comfortable for you. But from my experience, I can tell you this is a workflow that allows me to build a website and multiple pages within a single day. So, minus obviously some of the more in-depth JavaScript. Anyways, so that's the workflow. It kind of starts at a mock-up version, and from the mock-up version, we probably would move into a more detailed mock-up, so I would probably put actual images in here, kind of like this. Okay, so this would probably be like a completed mock-up page, and then from this, I would go on to write my HTML, I would write my CSS, and then I would put some functionality in there with my JavaScript. Okay? So hopefully this kind of gives you a realistic idea of what the workflow of a web developer looks like and what you can expect moving forward, especially if you're interested in pursuing a career as a self-employed web designer or as a web developer with a major company, or obviously even a small company. But okay, so that with that being said, guys, I'm going to lead us into our next set of tutorials, we're actually going to get a little bit more in depth about um, attributes. We're going to talk some about some other tags that utilize attributes like href and class. We're going to talk about the link tag a little bit more, and then we're finally going to get into some images. Hopefully, once we get more into images, guys, the pace will start to pick up a little bit, and you can really start to develop your own style. And I also want to talk about in the next tutorial a bit more about styles and the way of writing your code, the different ways of writing it, the different ways of syntaxing it. And these are all terms that we'll discuss in the next tutorial. So thanks again for joining me for this web tips tutorial. I'll probably call it something like HTML 1-3 or something like that. But this was just a kind of a crash course on workflow and how really the workflow and process goes from start to finish. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. And we will see you back again on the next Web Tips tutorials.